Heartwarming mistake, CEO texts unexpected news that changes life in just 3 hours. Ben Harper wiped his hands on a greasy rag, the familiar scent of motor oil mixed with a hint of burnt rubber swirling around him. His garage, a small charm of Maplewood, had seen better days. But today, amidst the noise of wrenches and engines, he felt a spark of hope. Little did he know, that spark was about to ignite something far bigger than he could have predicted. Zoe, his spirited 16-year-old daughter, darted through the entrance, tousled hair flying, and the light in her eyes could chase away any storm. "Dad, I got an A on my math test," she exclaimed. The pride swelling in his chest reminded him why he fought so hard every day, the thought of her college dreams twinkling just out of reach, like stars scattered in a darkened sky. He nodded, a grin breaking across his face. "That's my girl." But that joy was rivaled by the heavy worry weighing on his heart. The garage was on the brink of closure. Just last week, old Mr. Johnson's bakery shut its doors, and Ben shuddered to think his family might follow. Each repair echoed like a countdown, the bills piling high, and the community feeling just a bit more hollow. Suddenly, his phone buzzed violently against the workbench. Ben glanced down an incoming text he hadn't been expecting. It was from a number not saved in his contacts. Grabbing it, his breath hitched in his throat as he read the message ahead, word after word almost burning a hole in his consciousness. It spoke of a high-stakes investment opportunity meant for the CEO of a large corporation, promising funds to revitalize struggling businesses, including his garage. "Dad, everything okay?" Zoe's voice broke his trance, her eyes wide, scanning his frozen expression. Yeah, he scarcely believed it himself. Torn between honesty and ambition, Ben felt a surge of desperation. This could change everything for Zoe. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With quickened breath, Ben stepped into Maplewood Diner, the familiar smell of pancakes and fresh coffee washing over him, alongside the sound of laughter and chatter buzzing through the air. He confided in his closest friends, their faces turning skeptical as he laid out the predicament, the mixture of ambition and ethics simmering on the table. "What would you do?" he asked, searching their expressions for guidance. "Thinking small won't get you anywhere, Ben," someone urged, red flags flying in their conversation about ambition and dreams, but Ben's mind kept racing. Would this mysterious investment offer a way to lift them all? Underneath the skepticism lay the stubborn spirit of the small-town heart, driven yet confined under the weight of tradition. Hours passed in thick clouds of consideration, and the shrill ring of his phone brought him back to reality. Just when hope began to swell, a scandal erupted against that very corporation, sending shockwaves through the community. As whispers spread like wildfire, doubt crept through the rusted gears of the garage. "Ben, what's going to happen?" Zoe whispered, hope flickering in her eyes as they faced uncertainty together. In that moment, he realized what home truly meant. This town, their struggles, their family, they were intertwined. The choice was no longer just about him. It was about Zoe's future, community resilience, and perhaps a chance to redefine success. After all, as the heavy silence echoed through their hearts, Ben knew that an encouraging question loomed just beyond the horizon: could they stand tall and fight together, no matter the outcome? Ben stared at the flickering neon open sign outside the diner, the glow contrasting the dark clouds shrouding his mind. The laughter inside felt like a distant echo, faint and far from his own reality. Zoe sat across from him, her fingers nervously tapping against the table while stealing glances at her dad. The joyful expression she usually wore was now laced with uncertainty. "I think we should reach out to them," she finally said, her voice steady, a sharp contrast to the anxiety buzzing in the air. "You think so?" Ben replied, his forehead crinkled in thought. "What if the company is just a sinking ship? I can't drag you into that." Zoe leaned in, determination igniting her features. "Dad, you always tell me that we can't let fear hold us back. If you believe this could help us, then we owe it to ourselves to at least try." Her words struck a chord. It was true, they both shared an unyielding spirit. Still, trepidation coiled around Ben's heart like a vine. What if reaching out brought more trouble than answers? Okay, he let out a deep breath. "But we do it together. This isn't just my decision, it's ours. So, we gather what we have, hear them out, and see if it's worth it." As they discussed the next steps, a rush of adrenaline pulsed through his veins. Hope flickered anew. Maybe this was the nugget they desperately needed, the glimmer in the dark that could bridge their dreams with reality. The following days were a whirlwind of emails and phone calls, piecing together information about the investment opportunity. Every silence on the other end of the line felt like a small eternity, but Zoe remained by his side, her constant encouragement stoking the fire of his resolve. One afternoon, as he paced the floor of the garage, the sun filtering through the grimy windows, Ben received a call. His heart raced as he answered, his hands shaking slightly. The voice on the other end brimmed with urgency, the excitement palpable. "Ben, we're interested in your proposal. Can we meet next week?" For a split second, the world around him faded. Then reality came crashing back, the weight of hesitation settling in. What did this mean? "Dad!" Zoe squealed, bursting into the garage with an energy only she could conjure. Did they want to meet?" Ben replied, incredulity weaving through his tone. He pulled Zoe in for a tight embrace, the gravity of uncertainty still lingering in the atmosphere. As they reveled in their small victory, darkness seeped back into Ben's thoughts. He didn't know the long-term implications of this chance. The company's recent scandal flashed across his mind like a warning sign. Was he putting his family at risk? What if it actually works out but comes with strings attached? He wondered aloud, his voice filled with dread. What if this move destroyed everything they had worked for? Zoe cupped her father's face in her hands. "Then we'll figure it out together, like always. I believe in us, Dad. I believe in our dreams." Her belief in them began to sow seeds of resilience within him. But doubt still lingered like a shadow over their hopeful plans. As the meeting loomed closer, days felt like weeks, each second echoing with questions of success or failure. Ben stood at the crossroads of opportunity and consequence, needing to fully convince himself it was worth the risk, and beneath that calm exterior, his heart thrummed with anticipation and fear, pulled in two directions. What would happen when he finally faced the investors? Would they still recognize the dream he saw, or would they see just another fading light? As he and Zoe prepared for what was to come, Ben realized one thing above all: the real challenge lay ahead. Would they be strong enough for what awaited them next? Ben carefully adjusted his tie, his fingers fumbling nervously with the fabric as Zoe watched him from the other side of the small table in their cramped dining room. The scent of burnt toast wafted through the air, his attempt at a pre-meeting breakfast that had gone wrong. Yet, the smell somehow seemed fitting, a metaphor for the chaos swirling inside him. "Are you ready?" Zoe asked, her eyes bright but serious. He nodded, though in truth, he felt anything but ready. The meeting was just a few hours away, and every second felt heavy with expectation. "You're sure you want to be there?" he asked, hoping to gauge her level of commitment one last time. Zoe's smile was reassuring. "Absolutely. I want to be part of this with you." They both knew the stakes were exceptionally high. If this meeting with the investors went well, it could change everything. But if it turned sour, they could lose everything, too. Ben swallowed hard, his throat dry at the thought. "Remember what I said about believing in us," Zoe reminded him, her voice confident, as if she were trying to breathe courage into him. "Right," he whispered, feeling a flicker of her optimism within him as he glanced out the window. The sun was shining, casting warm rays that seemed to coax life from the stillness outside. It was beautiful and starkly contrasted with how his heart felt. As they drove toward the meeting venue, the streets buzzed with the morning bustle. A kaleidoscope of people stopped at traffic lights, joggers sped by, and the occasional child laughed on the sidewalk. But Ben felt like he was moving through a dream, disconnected from the reality around him, his pulse drumming quietly in his ears. Once they arrived, a wave of anxiety hit him. The modern glass building loomed large above them, its sleek exterior reflecting the world in a disorienting way. Ben stepped inside, the chill of the air conditioning rushing over him, snapping him back to reality. Zoe placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "Let us do this, Dad," she said softly, her faith glowing brighter than any neon sign outside a diner. They were ushered into a spacious conference room, the sleek hardwood table gleaming under the bright lights. A few minutes later, the investors entered. They were sharp, dressed in tailored suits, exuding confidence that made Ben feel both intimidated and hopeful. The introductions began, and Ben's heart raced as he realized he was the one leading the discussion. Clearing his throat, he felt Zoe's encouraging gaze behind him. He launched into his pitch, words tumbling out of him, full of passion and light. He spoke about their shared dreams, their vision, and what their hard work could mean to the future. For a moment, the room fell into a hushed silence, but as he addressed the potential pitfalls, the strings attached, that had been hounding his thoughts, Ben noticed a flicker of skepticism in one investor's eyes. And there it was again, that tightening grip of doubt. He continued, pouring everything he had into his words. Right at the moment when he sensed traction, a sudden commotion erupted outside the room, a burst of laughter, followed by hushed voices. The door swung open, and in rushed a woman, breathless and wide-eyed. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she exclaimed, clutching a file in her hands. I just got news that every gaze turned toward her, curiosity and confusion rippled through the room. Ben's heart skipped a beat. He could feel the change in atmosphere, but he had no idea what this would mean for their pitch. The woman took a breath and proceeded to drop a news bomb that would unravel the day ahead. What if it actually works out but comes with unexpected twists? Ben wondered as uncertainty coursed once more through him. What would this unforeseen revelation mean for their future? The room was still. The buzz of conversation faded as all eyes fixed on the woman, who was now the center of gravity in the large conference room. The confusion was palpable, and Ben could hear the faint crackling of his own nervous breath. "I just got news that the market for our product has shifted dramatically overnight," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "Investors are now looking for sustainable options, and they're willing to increase their capital significantly for businesses that align with these new demands." Ben felt lightheaded. Was this a blessing or a curse? He had spent countless hours preparing for every possible question about finances, projections, and risks. Now, here was a new reality rolled out before him, without a warning. "What does that mean for us?" one of the investors asked, his brow furrowing as if trying to calculate the immediate impact. "Are we talking about a shift in strategy? An increase in metrics?" Ben's mind raced. He glanced at Zoe, who looked as if she were holding her breath, waiting for him to catch up to the unfolding scene. "It means," he started, the words feeling heavy and foreign. "It means we have a chance to pivot and explore new avenues. We could be at the forefront of this shift, become a leader in sustainable options, capitalize on this momentum." He found his voice, a sense of resolve blossoming within him. "If we can act quickly, we can create a proposal that not only meets current market demands but exceeds expectations." The investors exchanged glances, some nodding slightly, but one middle-aged man at the end of the table remained scowling, his arms crossed tight against his chest. "But how do we know this isn't just a bubble? Shifts like this can be temporary." Ben's heart sank at the skepticism. He could almost feel the weight of his dreams teetering on a knife's edge. "That's true," Ben admitted, opening his palms as he leaned slightly forward. "But isn't it about taking a calculated risk? This is about more than just profits for us, it's about creating a legacy, a lasting impact. Zoe's eyes lit with recognition. She realized this was the moment that would define their journey. Imagine, Ben continued, a project that not only generates revenue but also does good for our world. If we align our business model with sustainability, we reach new customers and create advocates, not just consumers. His words seemed to hang in the air, weaving an intangible connection. The investors were listening intently now, the earlier skepticism replaced with curiosity. The tension softened, like a sudden shift in the breeze, and that flicker of doubt began to fade, but just as Ben felt the moment shift in their favor, the woman who had interrupted turned her gaze back toward him, hesitation gripping her features. "There's something else," she said quietly. "The investor that just backed out from the new project. Well, they're not the only one that noticed this shift. Other companies are poised to jump in too, and some are planning big moves that could overshadow us if we don't act fast." The implications of her words hit Ben like a blindside. The momentum he had started to feel slipped from his hands. They weren't just fighting to stay afloat, they were in a race against time. That he swallowed, the taste of urgency thick in his throat. "Then we need to strategize, and we need to do it now," he said, a new urgency spilling from his voice. "This isn't just about us anymore. This is about being the pioneers of change when it matters most." Zoe squeezed his hand hard, anchoring him. As the investors began their discussions, Ben's heart raced again, not out of fear, but from the adrenaline of what lay ahead. Could they really turn this chaotic moment into a victory worth fighting for? As ideas bounced around the room, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, a dive into the great unknown. What would they have to sacrifice to make this dream a reality? And would he have Zoe beside him when the journey twisted in ways they could never anticipate? The stakes had risen, and now he had to pull all his strength together to prove they could seize the opportunity before it was too late. The chatter buzzed like a swarm of bees, increasing in intensity as the investors started to piece together the implications of the woman's news. Ben felt the momentum shift, an electric charge hanging in the air, and with Zoe by his side, he exhaled deeply, ready to embrace whatever came next. "Let us break out into smaller groups," the woman proposed, her earlier hesitation replaced with purpose. "We each have networks we can draw on, expertise that can lend weight to this shift. We should formulate a cohesive response." Ben nodded, instinctively glancing at Zoe. "That's a solid idea. We all know something has to change, but we need to be strategic about how we present this to the market." As the room transformed into a flurry of discussions, Ben found himself surrounded by passionate voices, each offering different angles about how to approach sustainability. The investors split into teams, the worries of the earlier minutes dissipating, replaced by a sense of hope and urgency. It thrilled Ben. He felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins, pushing him to keep speaking, to keep fighting. "Let us focus on what we can do now," Ben said, raising his hand to signal for attention. "Zoe and I have some preliminary ideas on how we can leverage our existing technology. If we can make our product more sustainable without sacrificing quality, we'll give ourselves a huge competitive edge." "Can you outline a basic timeline?" asked a gray-haired investor, interest glimmering in his eyes. "We need a game plan that's executable and quick." "Yes. We can have an initial concept ready by the end of the week," Ben said, feeling more confident. "Then we'll gather feedback and refine it. If all goes well, we can have a formal proposal to show investors within a month." He watched as the faces around him drew closer together, empathy and excitement igniting in the once muted room. This was it. The birth of something meaningful. Zoe leaned closer, her voice steady and soft. "You're doing great. Remember, this is our vision, our dream. We've always wanted to make a difference." But doubt flickered at the edges of Ben's mind. "And what if it fails, Zoe? What if we're not ready for this?" "Then we adapt," she replied, squeezing his hand. "People are drawn to authentic efforts. Even if we stumble, if they see our commitment, we won lose them. This is bigger than us, Ben. We're contributing to something larger. Just then, Ben noticed the scowling investor from the end of the table was staring directly at him, arms crossed tightly. Optimism is fine, but are you prepared for pushback? The market isn't going to roll over just because you have good intentions. Ben's heart drummed louder. We have to be ready for any challenges that come our way. But our commitment to sustainability, our passion, it can lead us through those hurdles. As they brainstormed, Ben stripped away any remnants of his earlier uncertainties. He began to sketch broad concepts on a whiteboard, thoughts flowing like a river of ideas. Each contribution invigorated him further. They could transform challenges into opportunities. This was not merely about profits, it was about purpose and the future they wanted to build. Hours melted away, and somewhere amidst the discussions and debates, a vision crystallized. But even as Ben felt their determination solidify, an uneasy feeling wrapped around him. What if they couldn't keep up with competition? What if their efforts fell flat? Hey, Zoe whispered, obviously sensing his whirlwind of thoughts. You have to trust yourself. Look around. Everyone believes in this. At that moment, Ben met her gaze and something inside him ignited. He didn't need the answers to every question right now. They had a start. And moving forward was all they could focus on, but even as the energy in the room built, another email notification pinged on his phone. A name he hadn't expected to see brought his heart to a sudden halt. How could this news change everything once again? He hesitated for a moment, knowing something big was waiting behind that screen. Should he tackle it now or shut it out? It felt like opening a door to a storm. What they were forging could either rise or topple depending on this next revelation. Could this be the twist he never anticipated? Ben stared at his phone, the weight of uncertainty crashing over him like an unexpected wave. The name on the screen sent a chill down his spine. It was his former mentor, Greg. The man who had always been blunt but had also been a source of guidance in the industry. They hadn't spoken in months, not after Ben chose his own path and distanced himself from the old ways of doing things. With shaky fingers, he swiped to open the email. The words leaped off the screen. I've heard about your new initiative, Ben. It's impressive, but I think you should be aware that some major players are watching closely, and changes are already in motion. You might want to prepare. A knot tightened in his stomach. He couldn't shake the feeling of dread that twisted around his heart. Was Greg warning him or merely inciting doubt? He felt Zoe's presence at his side, a calm force in the chaotic whirlwind of emotions consuming him. Ben? Her voice broke through his thoughts. What is it? He swallowed hard, showing her the screen. As her eyes skimmed the message, he watched her expression shift from curiosity to concern. What does he mean about changes in motion? Is there something happening we don't know about? I don't know, Ben admitted, the truth clawing at him. He felt vulnerable, exposed in a way that felt raw. His thoughts drifted back to the scowling investor. What if they were already a step behind? What if this was the moment things unraveled? Zoe took a deep breath, grounding him. We can't afford to panic. We need to focus on our plan. This feels intense right now, but we can turn this into an opportunity. If someone is watching us, it means we're being recognized. We just have to prove we're ready. Her confidence licked at the edges of his fire, urging him to fight back against the doubts swirling in his mind. Yet the lingering uncertainty was suffocating. He had worked so hard for this moment. Was it about to slip away? Let's call Greg, Zoe suggested, her eyes narrowing with determination. If anyone knows about the pulse of the industry, it's him. We need information, Ben. Not just speculation. A part of him wanted to avoid the confrontation, but as he looked around at the gathering team, all buzzing with ideas and hope, he realized he owed it to them. He owed it to himself. With a deep breath, Ben composed his reply, requesting a meeting. As he hit send, a faint sense of relief washed over him, but it was soon replaced by the weight of anticipation. The room had come alive again, voices carrying the promise of ideals and innovation, yet in the back of his mind, that email loomed over him like a storm cloud. The hour ticked away, each second stretching painfully as he waited for Greg's response. Discussions continued, momentum built around their proposed strategies, and somewhere amidst it all, Ben felt the flicker of hope re-spark. But just as another wave of determination surged within him, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from a social media platform. An announcement. His heart sank. It was a major competitor unveiling an aggressive new initiative of their own, one that challenged everything he was trying to build. His vision blurred as the reality of his situation crashed down. Had they been so consumed by their internal discussions that they missed a key shift in the market? Zoe looked at him, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "What is it?" "Looks like we're already being cornered," Ben replied, keeping his tone steady, even as panic clawed at his insides. "They're making moves, faster than we anticipated." As Zoe's expression shifted to something more resolute, Ben felt a sense of urgency ignite between them. They needed to act, and quickly. "We can still take control," Zoe said, passion igniting her words. "This is a test, Ben. The world needs what we have to offer right now. We've just got to outmaneuver them." Ben's determination surged like adrenaline. He was reminded of the strength they had. They couldn't just react, they needed a bold strategy that could stand tall in the face of competition. But as they rallied their team around the urgency brewing in the air, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was approaching. The next few days could make or break them. What other surprises lay waiting to unfold? Could they rise to meet this challenge, or would the storm be too great? As the discussions turned into plans, Ben couldn't help but feel the shadows lingering behind him, ready to pull at the threads of their new dream. Unseen forces were stirring at the edges. Was this the push they needed, or would it all come crashing down? Ben's heart raced as the team buzzed with ideas. Strategies were shared and tossed around like confetti, but behind the clamor, doubt gnawed at him like a hungry wolf. He felt the weight of Greg's message pressing on his shoulders. The stakes felt higher now, like standing on the edge of a cliff overlooking a swirling abyss. "Okay, everyone. Let us gather up," Ben called out, trying to mask his worries. All eyes turned toward him, eager and expectant. "Today, we've got to brainstorm ways to counter our competition's new initiative. They think they can throw us off our game. Well, let us show them we're not backing down." His voice cracked slightly, but he pushed through, channeling the energy of the room. Zoe stood beside him, nodding encouragingly. She exuded confidence, and somehow Ben drew strength from her presence. As the team ramped up discussions, he began to feel a flicker of that earlier hope. They'd come so far, built this vision from the ground up. Amidst the chatter, Ben spotted Marcus, a younger team member with bright ideas and a penchant for thinking outside the box. "What if we turn the tables?" Marcus said, pen tapping against his notepad. "Instead of trying to outdo them, we could target their weaknesses, play to our strengths. Create a narrative that showcases why our approach is fundamentally different." Ben raised an eyebrow. "Expand on that." "Their initiative is aggressive, yes, but it's also risky. We focus on trust, community, sustainability. We can show customers that we're not just about profits, but about people." The room fell silent for a moment, the gears turning in everyone's minds. It struck Ben, Marcus was right. This could be the angle to sway public perception. Zoe smiled, leaning in. "Yes. We need to amplify our message. Show the world why they should believe in us, not them." As ideas flourished, Ben felt a rush of exhilaration. They were bringing life to something bigger than themselves, and together they could carve out a space in an unyielding market. But just as optimism bubbled within him, Ben's phone chimed once more. Anxiety snaked back into his gut as he glanced at the screen. It was Greg again, all heads turned toward him as he opened the message. Meet me ASAP, I have critical information. What does he want? Zoe whispered, sensing the change in his demeanor. Not sure. Ben's fingers trembled as he typed a quick reply, agreeing to meet within the hour. He stood up and faced the team. I have to step out for a bit but keep the energy flowing. This idea is brilliant, and I want to hear more when I get back. Nervous energy crackled in the air as he stepped out of the room. The hallway felt unfamiliar, every step echoing with doubt. What did Greg know? As he approached the meeting spot, the walls closed in, making the reality of the unknown heavier than before. Greg had always been straightforward, and Ben felt the chilling reminder of why he had distanced himself from the man. The door creaked open, and he stepped inside. Greg was already waiting, a serious expression etched on his face. Ben, he began, his voice low, I need to talk about the forces aligning against you. Ben's pulse quickened as he anticipated the worst. What do you mean? Greg leaned forward. You're not aware of all the players in this game, are you? Some aren't just watching from a distance, they're moving pieces into position. Ben's stomach twisted. This was the moment he feared yet braced himself for. What are you saying? Before Greg could answer, Ben's phone vibrated in his pocket again. He fished it out, heart racing, and glanced at the new notification. A tweet. It was from a notable influencer in the industry, hinting at a scandal brewing just underneath the surface, a scandal that could involve his team. What is it? Greg asked, his expression sharp. Ben's heart sank further, as his mind raced with possibilities of what lay ahead. Could they be connected? Was their fight against one competitor just a distraction? He looked at Greg, determination surging inside him. What do we do now? The air between them crackled with urgency, as they prepared to face whatever storm was coming. But as they delved into the harsh reality ahead, another question unfurled in Ben's mind: what price would they have to pay for their dreams? Ben felt the weight of unspoken tension settle between him and Greg. The air in the small room was thick with uncertainty, and the faint hum of fluorescent lights added to his unease. Greg's expression shifted slightly, tightening at the corners of his mouth. You need to understand, these players are not who you think they are. They could destroy everything you've built. What can we do? Ben's throat felt tight, each word an exercise in restraint. He wanted answers, solutions that could save not just their project but the heartfelt labor they poured into it. We fight back with the truth, Greg replied cautiously, his eyes darting to the door as if someone might overhear. But first, I need you to trust me. There's someone inside your organization leaking information. We need to find out who. A rush of anger and betrayal flooded Ben. Who could do something like that? We're all in this together. Greg shook his head. Someone is scared. Maybe they think siding with the competition will save them. But you can't let fear dictate your every move, Ben. Ben clenched his fists. The thought that someone breathed the same air around him, all the while harboring intent to undermine their efforts, was sickening. How do we proceed? You need to start by identifying loyalty within your team. Meet with everyone individually. Put your trust in the right people, and isolate the ones who aren't committed. Zeros in they could be the key to solving this problem. As Ben considered Greg's words, his phone buzzed again, jolting him from the simmering anger. He opened the notification, a new tweet lighting up his screen. This one read, "Just heard the latest from my source, big changes coming to the leading company. Expect some big names to be taken down soon." Is it about them? His heart raced again, a swell of fear and desperation clawing at his thoughts. Who was their source? They're making moves, Greg observed, his voice steady but urgent. You need to act fast before they manipulate the story. Ben nodded, trying to focus. I'll get back to the team. Let us regroup with a plan to counter whatever they're cooking up. Good. And Ben? Ben paused, searching Greg's gaze. What? Be careful. You're in deeper than you realize. With those words, Ben stepped out, the hall stretching before him like a tunnel leading to unknown paths. His thoughts were a whirlwind of disbelief and determination. Back in the main conference room, the atmosphere shifted when he walked in. The team was still buzzing, but he could sense threads of concern pulling across their excitement like rainclouds gathering before a storm. "Hey, everyone!" he called, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. "I just had a chat with Greg, and it's essential we meet now, more than ever." Instantly, heads turned towards him, eyes wide with curiosity. Zoe stepped forward. "What is going on? We felt the energy shift when you left." He took a deep breath, meeting her gaze. "There are forces at play that could affect all of us, serious threats. But we're not going to shy away. We're going to stand tall together and fight for what we believe in." The silence was palpable, they digested the new reality. "And how do we do that?" Marcus asked, optimism simmering beneath his concern. "We start by identifying threats within. I need everyone's cooperation, your honesty. It's a team effort, and I'm counting on trust." Zoe nodded, her resolve recharging the room. "We can do this. Let us showcase our strengths." Yet, deep down, Ben's heart thudded with dread. Was this truly just about getting their message across, or was there something more nefarious hidden in the shadows? As discussions erupted again, the specter of betrayal loomed. He couldn't shake the feeling that their unity was fragile, teetering on the brink of a precipice. But just as ideas began to flourish again, a sharp knock sounded at the door, and everyone jumped slightly. Ben's gaze flickered to Zoe. Who could that be? The anticipation in the air was thick again, the atmosphere charged with uncertainty. With a deep breath, he made his way to the door, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, his heart pounding with the weight of potential revelations. What new truths waited on the other side, and how would they alter everything they believed? Ben grasped the doorknob, his hand feeling unsteady as he turned it. The moment he opened the door, a gust of cool air rushed into the room, swirling with unspoken tensions and unkept hopes. On the other side stood a young woman, her face flushed and eyes wide, as if she had run a marathon to get there. Emma? Ben recognized her instantly. She was one of the newest interns, bright-eyed and eager to learn, but it was her expression that caught him. There was urgency etched on her features. "Ben, I couldn't wait," she stammered, taking a step inside. The others turned to look, curiosity and concern flickering across their faces. "I've been digging into our data last night and I think I found something. Something big." Those words shot through the room like a spark. The murmurs faded to silence. Ben gestured for her to continue, his heart racing with both excitement and nervousness. "What did you find?" Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself. "There are strange transactions linked to some of the partners we're negotiating with. I noticed it when I was doing some routine checks. It seems like someone has been padding their accounts through our contracts. It could be the leak Greg mentioned." The weight of her words slammed into Ben, and an icy chill seeped through his gut. If this was true, then they weren't just fighting a malicious rumor. They were standing face to face with potential sabotage and betrayal. "Show me," he said, urgency flooding his voice. Emma quickly retrieved her laptop from her bag and pulled up the spreadsheet she'd been working on. As she turned the screen toward him, the numbers blurred together. They looked innocuous at first, but he squinted closer. Patterns emerged, signs of irregularities that shouldn't be there. Hidden transfer details and odd connections linked to key players he thought he could trust. "Who knew about this?" Ben asked, glancing around the room, his heart pounding in his ears. "It was just me, until now," Emma confessed nervously. "I didn't want to worry anyone until I understood what I was looking at." Zoe leaned in closer, her brow furrowed with concern. "You did the right thing, Emma. We need to investigate this further, but we also need to be cautious. If someone is watching, Ben nodded, feeling the tension coil tighter. Emma, can you keep this under wraps? We'll need every detail you have, but we can't let anyone else know what we're onto just yet. The intern nodded, determination washing over her features. I won't say a word. I promise. Good. Now let us regroup and figure this out. His mind raced with strategies and possible allies. Maybe Greg was right all along. Trust needed to be rebuilt. The room buzzed with renewed energy. The fear shifted to a burning desire to expose the truth. But as they began brainstorming how to move forward, Ben couldn't shake the lingering question that clawed at him. Who was behind this? Who could he trust? Was there another threat lurking in the shadows? Guys, we need to meet back in 2 hours to compare our findings, he instructed. Use this time to dig deeper, but stay discreet. We can't lose focus. As everyone nodded, Ben felt a surge of hope mixed with dread. The battle was heating up, and it wasn't just their project on the line anymore. It felt personal. Risks were mounting as he faced the possibility of betrayal from within. He led Emma and the rest of the team back into the discussion, but as they brainstormed possibilities and plotted paths forward, a sinking feeling settled in his stomach. What if the traitor was already among them? With every heartbeat, anticipation surged. Uncertainty clung to him like sweat on a summer day. They were inching closer to a truth that could either save everything or shatter their lives. Soon, Ben would have to confront not only the truth but also his deepest fears. With what lay ahead, he wondered, could they withstand the storm? And then, just as the discussion reached a fever pitch, his phone buzzed insistently. He pulled it out, glancing down at the notification. It was a new message from an unknown number, and it sent a shiver down his spine. Was this the information they needed, or just another game being played against them? Ben's mind raced as he opened the message, the world around him fading into a blur. What dark secrets awaited him in that text, and would it send him spiraling further into chaos or offer a lifeline amid the chaos? Ben's heart pounded as he read the message. It wasn't just another ordinary text, it was a warning wrapped in urgency and fear. I know who's behind the leaks. Meet me after hours at the coffee shop. He felt a jolt of adrenaline shoot through him. This was the moment he had been waiting for, yet dread settled in his chest like a lead weight. Innocent eyes would be watching. Guys, I need to run an errand, he announced, trying to keep his voice steady and unwavering. I'll be back soon. The collective nods meant they believed him for now. After stepping outside, he took a deep breath, the air heavy but surprisingly refreshing. There was Zoe, waiting just as he turned the corner. Dad, where are you going? She asked, concern etching her features. Just heading out, he said, but her piercing gaze told him a different truth. I'm coming with you. Ben opened his mouth to protest, but the determination in Zoe's eyes made him pause. He needed her belief to ground him. Okay, but this is serious, he finally relented. It might be dangerous. Then we'll face it together, she replied, pulling her jacket tighter, a beacon of resolve. At the coffee shop, the low hum of coffee machines mingled with hushed conversations. Every face in the room felt like an unknown shadow, and Ben's gaze roamed until it landed on a familiar figure sitting in a corner booth. Emma, the intern. Emma? He called, surprising both her and himself. You shouldn't be here. I had to come, she insisted. I couldn't let you face this alone. Moments later, a figure stepped out of the shadows, a woman in her 30s, with a fierce expression and wary eyes. You're Harper, right? She said, cutting straight to the point. That's me. You have information? Ben asked, though his voice trembled with unspoken fears. Not just information. I have proof, she replied, looking around as though someone might be listening. But first, you need to know I'm on your side. What's your name? Zoe asked, stepping closer, her protective instincts flaring. Lena. I used to work at the company involved in this mess. There's more at stake than just financial interests. There's sabotage planned against you. Ben felt a tightening in his chest. Why help us now? I was pushed out of a project. I know what's coming. They're leveraging your shared vision against you, manipulating the public narrative, Lena explained hurriedly. The investor you thought was trustworthy? He's been in on it. Who? Zoe pressed, her brow raised. Warren Steele. He's the mastermind behind the leaks. He's been fueling rumors to destabilize you, Lena said, her voice cracking. You have to move quickly before everything unravels. Ben felt a storm brewing within him. We have to expose him, he said, urgency flooding his tone. Yes, Lena grimaced, but you need allies. Gather those you trust. You'll need a united front if you're going to stand up against him. And just like that, a plan began to take form. The stakes were at an all-time high, but so was their determination. Ben felt a sense of purpose returning, igniting the fire within him and Zoe. Let us go, he whispered, and they moved swiftly, adrenaline coursing through their veins. They gathered everyone at the garage, a safe space lined with memories of hard work and perseverance. The team huddled together, concern etched on their faces. We've been led to believe that everything's at stake, and it is, but we need to pivot and fight back now, Ben began, urgency in his voice. As they shared the night's revelations, tension shifted to determination. We're facing the biggest risk yet, Zoe stated, her voice steadier than it had ever been. We can expose Warren and turn his own strategy against him. They spent hours brainstorming strategies, their energy a whirlwind. Every member tapped into their strengths, fear evaporating in the face of unity. They focused on an open letter to the community, explaining their side and exposing the truths behind the manipulation. The morning sun crept through the garage doors, signaling a new day. As they prepared for the release of their open letter, Ben felt a renewed sense of hope. I believe in what we're building, he said, looking around at the faces that had rallied together. This isn't just about the garage, it's about our dreams and the community we love. And then, with fingers trembling just a bit, Zoe pressed send on their open letter. As the responses began pouring in, encouraging messages flooded their phones. Community members rallied around them, expressing their unwavering support, and the buzz of hope filled the air. Soon after, news broke about Warren's deceitful game. He was exposed, and the community's response was overwhelming. Ben and Zoe stood hand in hand, watching as the tides began to turn. Together, we really can overcome, Zoe said, her eyes gleaming with pride and optimism. Ben smiled, a mix of relief and wonder flowing through him. We fought for our dreams together. And that's what made the difference. Their journey had transformed, a reminder of resilience, love, and the power of community. With tears of joy in his eyes, Ben finally whispered, "We did it, Zoe. We faced the storm and we stood tall." The garage hummed with life again, the heart of Maplewood, revitalized by the bond they would never take for granted. Now is the time to join this journey further. You need to subscribe now to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you even more. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the spirit of resilience. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation today. Your support matters. Show the world what community strength is all about.